from a fallout shelter somewhere under Seattle, Washington. It's the show you've been waiting for. Get ready to join your hosts, John and Kenric, as they talk comics, movies, and more. Now here's Spoiler Country!
Alright, welcome back to Spoiler Country. I'm Kenric, and that is Mr. Horsley. And today on the show, it's another interview with our man on the street, Casey T. Allen. And this time, he's interviewing Matt Kund, who has a new Kickstarter out called The Reset.
That's right. The Reset is a fully colored comic of high-concept sci-fi action, time travel, and corporate espionage.
Right. So...
Sounds cool.
Sounds familiar. Or something like the Blade Runner would be high concept.
Agreed. 100% agreed. It's...
Also, you know what? Actually, would Time Cop be considered high concept?
I think it would. I mean, yeah. I like that. I like Time Cop.
Did you with the muscles from Brussels, Jean-Claude Van Damme?
I did. I enjoyed that. Actually, I enjoy a lot of his movies. Actually,
which one that you didn't enjoy?
I can't name one, honestly. I liked him in Street Fighter. I liked him in Time Cop.
I
liked him in
Street Fighter was so bad. I did good because I was a huge Street Fighter fan. I played the crap out of that game. I actually won local competitions playing that game in arcades across Bremerton, Washington, which was, I think, like 3 of them.
Right.
But still, I won local competitions. I played the crap out of it. And like Chun-Li and Ken, forget it. I'm kicking your ass.
Oh, I challenge accept that I will take you on a Street Fighter, man.
Oh, God. Well, which edition?
You pick it. I don't care.
Oh, is that how it is?
I'll take you on any edition. We should live stream that.
You are like confident. Only if we're doing it on the actual arcade machine.
All right, we'll do it on an arcade machine. We'll live stream it. Us doing Street Fighter 2 or Street Fighter whatever.
I beat 40 people out.
Nice. I won a Street Fighter versus X-Men not contest, like an after hours thing in Reno one time.
But what is that? A Street Fighter versus X-Men? What is that? Was that an edition? Did they have X-Men in with Street Fighter?
Yeah. There's a Street Fighter versus X-Men. There's a Marvel versus Capcom.
Oh yeah. See, I was already out by then. The last thing I played was the Championship Edition.
Oh,
I don't even think it was the Extreme Champion. I think it was just the Championship Edition.
Oh, nice.
So it's been a while.
I played a bunch of Asian kids who didn't speak English in Reno in the arcade and won.
Nice.
Yes. I beat the Asian kids.
Nice. You might be better than me.
We'll see. Maybe on that one.
That's hilarious. I always cracked me up. I mean, not to get out of the way, we're going to get back to the Reset with Matt Kund, but because this topic came up, and it came up quite naturally, actually. But
yeah,
I always laughed because if you play Ken and you're playing against who is the one he's really tall and lanky. He's not the guy from India, but the one right before the main guy.
Oh, Saget,
yeah. And he if you're Ken, and you do the uppercut, it sounds like he says like, all you can. I don't know what he says, right? But then Saget sounds like he's saying, when he does his fireball, it sounds like he's saying Ivers. And Ivers here in Seattle is a local seafood chain. And I swear to God, if you get it right, it sounds like he's going Ivers, and then you're doing the uppercut, and it's like, all you can eat. Ivers.
So it's an ad for Ivers.
Yeah, it's just to crack me up. Like the whole time, that's what I'd be chanting as I'm playing. People are like, what is wrong with you? I don't know.
And then you'd go have buckets of clams.
Yeah, acres and acres of clams.
Acres of clams and clam chowder. Oh, their clam chowder bowls are so good.
They are good. Even in the bread bowl. I don't eat all the bread, but the bread bowl makes it. Just, I don't know, something about it.
So anyways, the Reset.
The Reset by Matt Kund. Actually, seems actually really cool. It's a fully colored comic of height. Well, you already read the whole thing.
I did.
But everyone is faced with the countdown to a world-ending event. All hope seems lost till one man presents a solution to save everyone by resetting it all. But it comes with a cost. His former business partner has other ideas and a little revenge on his mind, too. I like it.
Nice.
It sounds cool. I'm actually excited to check this out. So we should probably just sit back and listen to Casey and Matt Kund talk about The Reset.
welcome again to another episode of Spoiler Country. My name is Casey Allen, and you are you, and today we are all citizens of this wonderful place we call Spoiler Country. Today, my guest is Constructing Comics podcast host and author of a new comic going out on Kickstarter, Matt Kund. Matt, how you doing, buddy?
And to talk about making comics and talk about this book.
Awesome. Let me just ask you something real quick since we're recording and this is going on the whole thing. Did I pronounce your last name right? I should have asked you before I started recording.
You nailed it on the first try, and it's a very difficult name.
Awesome. I have a boring last name, so I just wanted to double check, make sure everything was good. Now everybody knows that I am exactly the idiot they thought I was, so that's great. You have a new book called The Reset, and do you want to talk about it a little bit?
So this is the third time I'm going back to Kickstarter, and I tend to be a bit of a concept guy at the start, and so I had this idea about time travel, and a lot of time travel stories are, one person or maybe like a small team is able to time travel. And my thought was, what happens if the only way it was possible is that we had to move in time to go back to?
Matt, you're going in and out.
I'm sorry.
It's all good, man.
I apologize.
It's all good, man. We can start over, thing.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I have earbuds in. Do you think it would be better if I connected a headset to my iPad?
Let's do that, and something that won't get fuzzy or whatever. Yeah.
Put my I'm gonna hardwire into the iPad then.
Okay, and if you need me to re back or whatever, that's fine. It went as soon as you started explaining this. It went out.
Okay, so I put in a wired connection into the iPad. Does this sound better?
Yes, it does. Awesome.
Okay, my apologies. So,
oh, dude, it's all good. Let me start over and I can give them a cut point, and because we weren't in that far at all.
Okay, sounds great.
All right. Okay, you guys, welcome again to another episode of Spoiler Country. My name is Katie Allen. You are you, and we are all citizens of this wonderful land we call Spoiler Country. Today, on the podcast, I have co-host of the Constructing Comics podcast and author of the new book, The Reset. It's out on Kickstarter right now. You can go to Kickstarter, type in The Reset. You see an awesome video and Matt Kund's name under it. So, Matt Kund, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Casey. I'm really excited to be on and talk about making comics and talk about this new book.
Awesome. Yeah, tell me about the book.
Yeah, so this is my third time coming back to Kickstarter, and I tend to, as a writer, be a bit of a concept first guy. So this is a time travel story, and a lot of time travel stories that I had read or seen movies about was, one person or a small team is able to go back in time and address an issue. And I had an idea that was what happens if time travel was possible, but the only way it was possible was that you had to take the entire world, the entire population of the world, and move it back to a certain point of time. So I wanted to tell a story with that concept.
That sounds deep, man. That's pretty cool. Where did you get this idea? Is it just something that was bouncing around in your head for a little while? Where did you get the inspiration? This
is honestly one of those ones where I was walking around and it came to my head as a concept. I was at the day job and just doing something silly, mindless, and it popped in and I was like, hey, let me write that down. As an idea, and then from there I worked it out.
Cool. So this isn't your first book you've had on Kickstarter. Can you tell us a little bit about the other things that you've done?
Yeah, so the first book I did was called Digital Forever, It was a story about people who, before they die, they go to this company called Digital Forever, and they ensure that they are put into a simulation of the afterlife that they choose. So say that if you want like the traditional, Christian afterlife, you can sort of guarantee it, and they grab you and they put you into it. But, things don't always go as planned, with any good story with some drama. So these people are put in these simulations and, things happen to them from there. The second book I did was called Multi-Larceny. And that was a book where guys were using the multiverse to rob banks. They would go to different realities to sort of like case banks. And if they went to a bank that had high security, they would pull out of the job. But if they went to a bank that looked like the security was a little lackadaisical, they would go in and rob that bank. So that was the second book I did. So I do a lot of sci-fi books.
Cool. Well, the team that you've used on the reset, can you tell us a little bit about the team that you're working with?
Yeah, so this is the first time I'm working with the artist of the on the reset. It's a guy named Kevin Zimmerman. He contacted me when I was making Digital Forever, and he was like, "Hey, you know what? You had the call for artists, and I know that you have an artist for this book, and I'm really excited to get into this. Do you have anything?" And I was like, "Well, I do have this one area or this one idea that I'm working on," and I explained the reset to him, and from there he came in as the artist. The colorist on this book is Ertan Sihan, and he's the guy who did the colors on Multi-Larceny for me. And interestingly enough, the letterer is going to be the other co-host of Constructing Comics, Noah Ray.
Oh yeah, put him to work, man.
Yeah, he's going to be my letterer, and he's going to actually going to function as an editor as well, and I'm pretty excited about it because he and I have that relationship from all of those podcasting episodes that we do. So I think we can do some pretty great things there.
And you guys both kind of put in critical analysis of these comics, and do you think that's helped you when it comes to writing your own?
Yeah, I think so. It's what's pretty funny is that I'm pretty sparse as a writer. A lot of times it's person A, person B, in this situation, in this room, person A says this to person B, and when I get on these podcasts with Noah, he's dropping all this art knowledge on me as an artist himself, and that's changed a lot of how I think about the pages when I'm making it. So I definitely that those 60 some episodes of that podcast that we have has definitely changed the way that I think about page design, and I think about I don't necessarily call out shots, not like that Alan Moore sort of, every panel is this, this diatribe of details. But every once in a while, I will think of like, what, this would be cool if this was like an upshot or, a close up. So I will call those out on occasion. And I think a lot of that is from all the pages that we've looked at and all of sort of the time we've looked at, design and how a page can work.
That's awesome. But if you don't do all the details on the page, then the ancient snake god Glykon won't be satisfied, and you'll just fuck everything up.
Yeah,
that's why Alan Moore does all that.
Yeah, it's very true. I'm messing with that chaos magic that could always come out and end the world, right?
Exactly, man. That's a fine line, man. You got to walk that tightrope, buddy. So, the podcast. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I would like to.
Okay, Constructing Comics. It's a great podcast. tell us about it. How did you and Noah meet?
So that's a pretty interesting story. Noah and I at one point lived in the same neighborhood. Noah was the guy who worked at the community swimming pool that when you came in that you had to sign in and show an ID card to prove that you lived in the neighborhood. So I go in there one day with my kids and I'm signing in, and he's there, and he's got these 11 by 17 boards like posted up on the back of the office, and he's drawing when he doesn't have to look at those ID cards. So I'm like, hey, what are you doing back there? And he's like, oh, I'm drawing. So he brings me the board, and I look at it, and he was like, oh, are you into comics? And I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to get started as a writer. I got a Kickstarter going, and ever since then we've been fast friends, and we talk, and it's a lot of talk about comics, a lot of text about comics and stuff like that. So that it was one of those circumstances where right place, right time, you meet somebody that's really into the same stuff that you are.
That's awesome, and I've been listening, especially to your analysis of the Powers of X, House of X comics, just because I haven't read X-Men in years, and this new storyline really kind of piqued my interest.
Yeah, I get it twofold. Like I read those issues on my own, and I sort of think about it, and then I feel like I have like a bit of an understanding, but that then I sit down and I get on the podcast with Noah, and it's like, it might be close to an hour where we go through there and we flip through the pages, and I'm like, I missed that point, or now I see something differently. So I'm really into that book. I was a big Hickman mark before that. As a writer, he's been a big influence on me. I just recently read the last issue, and I'm still sort of processing it in my head. And I know that when we sit down to do this recap where we look at these last two, we usually look at both issues together. Powers of 10 and House of X, whichever issues came out, we look at those together. So we're going to look at both issue 6s here very soon, and I'm still processing it in my head, and I'm looking forward to that conversation with Noah.
Do you think it was worth all of the hype? Do you think it has, it's worth all of the noise about it?
So the way I feel about it right now, and this is another thing I'm still sort of working through in my head, I feel like it petered out, and I don't know if that was one of those things where I was so excited for it that when this last issue of the 6th issue that came out about a week ago, I feel like it petered out. And I understand also that Hickman was getting it to a point where he could almost wipe the board and restart with the X-Men, but I feel like there was a lot of stuff that still could have been done, and we just got to a point where it was like, we did all of this stuff is in motion, but you know what, to see more, you have to go to Uncanny #1, and I understand that that's the way that monthly comics for the big two work, but I just wish that there was something major would have happened at the end, or some big change would have happened at the end, and I still like it, I just don't love it.
That's cool. That's cool. And I'm sorry for the digression. I just really got excited about that book. I really want to go out and actually get those books because, like I said, I haven't read X-Men in years, but it sounds like a really good storyline. So back to your own comic, man. The Reset, is this a full story? Is this just one of many issues that you're going to put out? How are you going to do this?
So this one is the first of what I hope is 4 issues. That at one point could be like a solid story arc. Well, no, not hope to be a solid story arc. It is a solid story arc. So this is the first issue, like 1 of 4.
Cool. And man, I'm looking at your Kickstarter right now, and it's all very reasonable. Everything. I mean, it's just standard prices for the comic. The $3 digital download, that's awesome. How many pages is the first issue?
It's 20. I harbor illusions of one day maybe working for the big 2, and so I like to try to when I'm doing these books, I like to try to work in that format of a DC or Marvel book where I shoot for that 20, 21, 22 pages.
I mean, that makes it. I mean, that's what I do right now. I'm working on a story right now, and each, I guess, chapter of the book, I'm trying to keep to 22 to 24 pages, just because, I mean, it's a good way to kind of like pace yourself, I guess.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of people would look at it as like a limitation, a certain number of pages like as a limitation, but it's also sort of like it keeps you focused. So you don't get to that middle point, you don't meander too much. Like you have to tell something that's interesting. Each page, something should happen. That page turn should be an event, or not an event, but a beat in the story. So like to have that sort of structure that you like, I have 20, 21, 22 pages where I have to tell this story. That keeps you from pontificating or going on too long. So no, I agree with you there.
And so this is your 3rd time doing the Kickstarter thing. How did you actually get into wanting to write comics? Like, what was the thing that sparked you to make you want to do your own?
So, probably about roughly 10 years ago, I was going through a time in my life where I had a bit of an illness in the family. I had taken a newer job that was a little bit more high stress, and I had just recently become a father, so there was the stress of that. And I was sitting at the day job, sitting in my cube, just working on a spreadsheet, and I thought back in my head, I was like, what used to make me happy as a kid? And I was like, I loved reading Marvel comics. I loved G.I. Joe. I loved Spider-Man. All those 80s Marvel's comics. And so on a lark, I just went into my iPhone and I went to podcast, and I really wasn't into podcast that much at that point, but I was like, let me listen to some people talk about comics for a while. So I put in comics in the search, and I found a few, and I started listening. And at first it was just sort of, I just wanted to listen to people talk about it and sort of spark that joy. Then it was, I found a comic shop. I got a pull list. I started reading, and then, I saw a call for writer submissions at Omni Press, and I put in 2 for that, and both of those didn't make it. So it was one of those things where it's like, hey, if I can't make it with these people, I'm just gonna make it on my own. So I went to Kickstarter with those.
Awesome, that's cool. And that's the ones that you did the Digital Forever and Our Extinction.
Well, no. So actually, both things that I pitched to Omni were Digital Forever and the Reset. So the Reset has taken a little bit longer to get going, but Our Extinction is a book that I made with Noah that was sort of a self-published story. I wrote it, he drew it, and we printed it on our own, and we take it to local cons here in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area.
And you guys, I mean, y'all stay fairly busy in the cons, man. That's cool. Like, we don't really have anything around Birmingham like that.
Okay.
So especially the small press cons, which is awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky in sort of like I'm in the Mideast, so I can we have Awesome Con in Washington D.C. We have Baltimore Comic Con, Small Press Expo, which is in Bethesda, Maryland, which was a few weeks ago. But one of my favorites is Heroes Con, which is in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
I've gone to that for the last 2 years, and it's a bit of a drive, but I think at this point it's going to be one that, as long as I don't have any commitments that are keeping me away from it, I'm going to go to it each year.
What's so awesome about Heroes Con?
So Heroes Con, the thing that's so awesome about it is it is about comic books and it's about comic art. It's, when so many of these shows that you go to that might be like in a big city, like your Awesome Con in DC or your Philadelphia Wizard Con, like there's so many people there, and if this is what you're into, this is cool. But like they go and it's like there's a celebrity guest, there's Val Kilmer, or there's like the Green Power Ranger, and people will wait in line for hours just to get a photo op with those people. And I would wait in hours in line to have my picture taken with Val Kilmer. But Heroes Con, it's all about like comics and comics art, and it's in a small southern city. It's laid back. It's just so much fun. There's an auction on Saturday night that for the Hero Initiative. And there's just a lot of like comics, creators there, and it's just really laid back. And a guy like me can like, walk up to Scotty Young and just sort of, talk to him for 30 seconds, and everybody's just laid back, and it's just a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I have family that live in Charlotte, and I'd really like to check out that con.
It's recommended. If you can, you should make your way over there.
I might go crash on my grandmama's couch next year and check this con.
All right, sounds good.
So you've got the comic coming out. You've got the podcast. What's your next big after the reset? What do you have something planned that you want to do?
Yeah, so I have a bit of a two-prong attack there. I definitely want to get better about the timeliness of my Kickstarters. Like, I want to, for this one, I set the delivery date a little bit out, but I want to try to exceed that and maybe do another Kickstarter later in this year. I'd like to do a second issue of maybe like in the springtime once everything is out the door. I'm also one of those guys on Kickstarter, guys or girls on Kickstarter, that I don't want to launch the next Kickstarter until everything from the Kickstarter that I have just done is out the door. So like I won't launch the next one until I have every envelope sealed, delivered out the door on the reset, and then I will launch the next one, because I don't want to fall into that trap where I haven't delivered on the last one and I'm going back.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, hey, I'm back here. So, but my goal is to be a little bit quicker there. So definitely one more Kickstarter this year, and I'm working on a pitch. I have 5 pages inked. They're soon to go to coloring. It's going to be the same team on interiors from Multi-Larceny. That's Bora Orkel. He drew the all the art for Multi-Larceny, and again, it's Ertan is going to color that. He's sort of my go-to colorist. So I'm going to try to pitch that to publishers. I have a pitch document that's off with an editor, and he's going to sort of give me 2 opportunities to clean it up, and then the hope is that I can network and show it to some folks and maybe get somebody to look at it. But if that doesn't work, then it's back to Kickstarter with that as well.
Awesome. Well, man, that sounds exciting. So I'm looking at all the stuff you sent in the press kit, and dude, you don't sleep. Tell me about the Forever Comics Publishing. I mean, that's who you do all these out of, and I'm assuming it's just the 3 titles that you've put through Forever Comics. Can you tell us where this came about?
Yeah, so I just wanted to sort of be able to brand my comics, just so like there was a unifying sort of thing throughout. And it was the first book was called Digital Forever, and I was playing with a lot of themes on the afterlife and things going on. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna brand these as Forever Comics. So the 3 things that I've done through Kickstarter, they sort of have that logo. The books that I've done with Noah, which are sort of like self-published books that we work on together. We've done about 3 or 4 sort of mini comics. Those 5-6 page stories that we tell, and we brand those as Forever Comics too. So it's just me trying to group everything together.
Cool. And tell me about the DMV, the Indie Comics Creators Group you have.
Yes, so that's a meetup group that I've made for people in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area to get together sort of once a month. We've been at it for about 4 months now. Generally, we'll meet at a local comic book shop somewhere, and we'll just sort of discuss our projects. And what we do is we set out a goal for each member to have or to try to reach for the next meeting. And if you don't meet it, no one's going to sort of give you a hard time about it, where everybody's encouraging of everybody's efforts, and we all understand that this is something that we're doing on the side. We're doing after hours, we're doing it before work, we're doing it on the train into work. So it's a group that I started, and I've been pretty lucky. It's at this point it's roughly 9 or 10 of us. Not everybody's able to meet each month, but we get together and everybody shows what they've worked on. We talk about what we're going to try to do for the next meeting, and about halfway between the meetings, I send out an email to everybody just to say, hey, this is where I am. Everybody kind of report in where you are with your stuff, and we just sort of through email encourage each other to keep going.
That's awesome, and it's great to kind of give that accountability and show your intentions through actions in that way. And we kind of do that in the Comic Jam group that I help run. Mm-hmm. But you guys are meeting face to face, which is even better, and kind of getting to meet up and know each other as people, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's also pretty cool that we have a lot of varying interest in the groups. We have people who are, they like to put together like indie zines. We have people who are, artists that are writing for themselves. There's myself, who's mostly a writer. I harbor some illusions of being able to draw, but most of the time is spent behind the keyboard. So it's a good group, and having those different perspectives, we can sort of bring different things to the group and different perspectives. So it's a lot of fun.
That's great. It's always fun to have people look at what you're doing and kind of figure out, you can kind of sometimes even tell on their face, like when they read it, like, oh, maybe I should do that better, or, oh, this is hitting. This is really, this is getting their interest. So that's great, man. And you do all this, the comics, the podcast, talking to my stupid ass. You do all this while working a job and also having a family. Tell me how you're able to maintain your creativity and do all these endeavors while still being a good dad, being a good significant other.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is I have a bit of a routine, and the other part is like if I can squirrel away 15 minutes to work on something, trying to capitalize on that. I have a bit of a routine where I try to do these like daily minimums, and I know that my willpower is a little bit stronger. Actually, not a little bit. I know that it's a lot stronger in the morning. So a lot of it is I get up, get ready for work, and I have about a 30-minute train ride into work. So it's pull out the phone, call up Google Docs, work on some stuff while I'm sitting there.
Oh, Google Docs are the best.
yeah, definitely. Or if I have to take my daughter to an appointment, as soon as she's in the back and I'm in the waiting room, it's grab the phone. If I'm lucky enough to remember to bring my laptop, grab my laptop and try to knock out a little bit of work there. So, but a lot of it I can contribute to. Probably about 3 years ago, I made the decision that I was going to write every day, and just recently I've gone over 1,000 days in a row of writing a page. It started off as at least one page a day, and since then I've sort of when I hit January 1st, I sort of up the increment. And I'm now at 4 pages a day.
Oh,
now,
wow. Holy cow.
They're not always the best pages, and sometimes they're just sort of beats to work through. And like I said earlier, I'm pretty sparse on my writing, so some of these, these are not masterpieces by any means, but it's for me a way for me to sort of stay engaged and stay working on story. So so right now it's 4 pages a day, but I'll tell you that sometimes if I don't get to it and I need a page, it's very convenient for me to go, oh, splash page, so and so falls off the building, so that's a way for me to get a page done. So sometimes there's a little bit of cheating going on there.
Splash pages intimidate the hell out of me. It's hard for me to give up that real estate, knowing that like, oh, I have to get this part of the story out too. So I've maybe written like 2 or 3 splash pages out of all the stuff that I've written, because it literally scares the hell out of me, because I just don't know what to do with all that other space.
Yeah, I maybe a little bit for me was early on when I was working with Bora, when we were making Multi-Larceny. I was pretty early on in my writing, and I had the monster like 15 panel page, and he sent me an email, and he's like, there's too many panels. There's too many panels. He's like, I'm not drawing all of this. So I went back and I was like, all right, this 6 panels is a page, and then these 6 panels are another page. So I did start off as, wanting to use all of that real estate, and I got to a bit of a middle ground with the artist to make everything a little bit more manageable. But I do like the page turn and the splash page, and a lot of stuff that I've written, I do like the I try to like that second page when you turn. I like to make that sort of like a oh wow moment. So a lot of things that I do, page one is sort of like setting up a situation, and then that page turn to go to page two is always, not always, but for a lot of stuff is a splash page.
Nice. I with the Comic Jam group that I help, we'll get new guys that want to learn how to write comics, and you talked about having the 15 panel page. Mm-hmm. We've kind of restricted the amount of panels we can have on any one page to 6.
Yeah.
Just because, we do 1-page stories. If you can't get it all out in 6 panels, then give us another story. Like you gotta learn how to cut the fat or something. But we've had so many new guys that just come in with, it's all tiny square panels and it's all headshots, so it's okay to have 25 panels on this page. We're like, no, it is not okay.
Yeah, I start to get once I hit that 6 panel, I start to get in my head. I start to get nervous and start telling myself, no, you've hit the max. You might be able to stretch it to 7, but you're not going any further than 7.
I'm really excited about the book you have coming out, The Reset, and the art team that you have on this is really good. Now, I quite enjoyed the what was the name of that book? The Digital Forever.
Yeah, that was my first book. Yeah.
I thought the art team you had on that was really quite amazing. The Gandolfo.
Yeah, Wilson. He was the very first artist I worked with.
And the artist you have on The Reset is a different style of art, and it's really, really amazing. And those colors are vibrant, and it just adds so much more to the art. Really fantastic stuff and really good pacing. From what I can see on this, it looks fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, I've been pretty lucky finding artists to work with. A lot of it's always sort of it's sort of like a courtship at first. Sort of like for Digital Forever, there was a Facebook group that was like connecting writers and artists. So when I got serious about it, I put out a call. And I was like, "Hey, this is a paid job." And when you put out that this is a paid job, you get a million sort of replies like right away. If you go into those jobs and you're like, "Hey, I'm paying with exposure," to expect crickets. Nobody's going to get back to you. But as soon as you say that it's a paid job, you get a lot of stuff. And for Digital Forever, I did get a lot of stuff. And I was going through some stuff, and Wilson was really one of the few people that actually gave me he did like a 2-page zombie story, and he was able to tell a story or a small segment of a story on his own in 2 pages, and I was like, that's the guy I want to work with. So I've been very lucky.
Oh yeah, and it's fantastic stuff on both books, and The Reset, the concept is so cool. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where you're going with that. Tell us where we can get The Reset, and can we get the Digital Forever stuff anywhere else?
So if you're interested in everything that I've done to this point, one of the tiers on the Kickstarter, there's a sort of a digital catch-up tier, and there's a physical catch-up tier. So if you pledge at one of those, you sort of get everything I've done to this point, which would include everything that we've kind of talked about in a few other of the small self-published books that I've done. So that would probably be the best way.
And those packages, both of those packages are not bad price at all. Like, that's what you would expect to pay for a standard, like, print package for one comic during a Kickstarter.
Yeah, so one of the things that when I look at Kickstarters, I want the prices to be manageable. Not to, there's times where I look at Kickstarters and like it's a $10 digital copy, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know. So I like to make sure that the prices on all my stuff are manageable, because you need to play with that sort of that happy medium where like you can entice people to come in, but you can also make it reasonable for yourself. So that was, a lot of that went into sort of the pricing that I chose there.
That's awesome, and it's so cool to have a package like that where you can take a deep dive into your stuff. So that's really great. Are you on any of the comics reader websites? I guess Comixology is out now completely, but anybody else that you might be have hosting your comics?
So I do have a Gumroad site, which is Forever Comics. So if anybody was interested in sort of going in and just sort of sampling, one of the comics as a digital copy, they could go to my Gumroad site. But that's really the only place that I have books other than what I have on Kickstarter right now.
Awesome. Well, and I said Comixology, I said Comic Central. They shut down, which is crazy.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I would like to be on Comixology, and at one point I will be. But every time I try to go on there, I get a little intimidated by like all of the formatting.
Oh, so yeah, really, yeah. They're a pain in the ass on formatting, from what I understand.
Yeah, what I need to do is I just sort of need to find somebody who can do that for me and sort of, shell out the dollars to get that done. But me with my technical know-how, I don't think I can do that at this point.
Oh yeah, that's all Greek to me, that stuff. So, but I know a lot of people who do know how to do that stuff. So I'll probably be asking them some questions eventually. Yeah. But yeah, man, the reset, it looks awesome. I can't wait to read it. It's on Kickstarter. You have, as of Sunday, the whatever day today is, the 13th?
13th, yes.
As of Sunday the 13th, you have 24 days to go. You're not too far along on you're not too far along to go. You're about a third of the way through to your goal. So yeah. That's a good start, man. And this book is awesome. I can't wait to read it. It looks awesome. You guys go out, find The Reset on Kickstarter, Matt Kund. Matt, anything else to say, buddy?
No, I really appreciate the time to talk about The Reset and just talk about making comics in general. As this conversation that we've had, it's both of us we've put it out there. This is something that we're very passionate about, and just talking about comics is something I enjoy to do.
Awesome. And you guys also, Constructing Comics Podcast, get out there, subscribe to that on whatever podcatcher app you use. A lot of good discussion. It's a great show.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
And Matt, thanks again for coming on. And next time you have another book coming out, hit us up.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Take it easy, brother.
Thanks.
right, and we're back.
We're back. Yeah, that was cool. Matt is a cool guy. I talked to him back in February when I was doing my Kickstarter over on his podcast.
Yeah.
Called Constructing Comics. That was a lot of fun. And I was excited to bring him on our show to help promote his book for him too.
Yeah, that's exciting. And they have a realistic goal of only $2,300, which hopefully they'll make here pretty soon.
Yeah, they should get there. I mean, as of recording this, they have 50 backers already, and they just started, so they're on their way for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and you can attest, looking at it every day, you start to sweat. Am I going to make it? Am I going to make it? Sure. And then you go over, and then people back out, and they're like, oh, I got to pull my pledge back, and you're just like, what is going on? And then you almost always get this final push the last 48 hours.
Yeah, it's almost always best to just not look at the numbers, just keep pushing, keep promoting, and then just look at it towards the end.
Yeah, I bet you that's impossible, though.
It is impossible. I couldn't do it. I could not do that.
Yeah, because you're like a numbers guy.
I am. I dive deep into numbers, and it's kind of insane.
Yeah, you guys have no idea. You should see the spreadsheet for our podcast. It's ridiculous. I'm like, why are you, what?
But hey, I can tell you what shows do the best on what days and what topics we should talk about. So.
Well, you even got the algorithm right where you said we should be at these numbers on these months, and you were pretty close.
Yeah.
You were pretty close. It was like, oh, man. That's awesome.
It's analytics, man.
Analytics. All right, guys. Go out there. Check out Kickstarter. Look up the Reset or Matt Kund. That's MattKund. And it'll pop right up. Or it'll also be in our show notes if you want to just go that way. I find it's probably easier just to go to Kickstarter and do a quick search. But that's up to you. Check it out. See if you like it. Check out the gifts, I guess, the donations, what do you call them? The rewards.
The rewards, yeah.
The pledge rewards, and see if there's anything you like. If you can't financially afford to participate in the Kickstarter, but you like the project, I want to say product, that works too. If you like the product or the project, however you want to go with it, share it out on your social media. It makes a huge difference because then they're reaching people they wouldn't normally reach that might be interested in that book.
Yeah, and if you can't find it that way, you can always go to scpod.net, use our search function, search for The Reset or search for Matt Kund, go to the article there, and then just click on the link. That's the fancy way to do it.
Oh, that's even the better way to do it. You should go through our site.
Yeah, that way you get the traffic, and it's all wonderful.
Yes, we're very altruistic in that motive. Believe us.
Yeah, totally. But no, check it out. Definitely, it's going to be fun.
So there you guys go. We hope you enjoyed that. Hope you come back for more. We're Spoiler Country. We're offered on all the podcast catchers out there, all the platforms. We're on a ton of social medias, and we got some other things going on too. Johnny, want you to tell them about it?
Yeah, we got a voicemail at 707-656-2080. Again, 707-656-2080. There's still time for you to enter in your favorite horror story, comic book, movie, whatever. Call us, leave us a voicemail, talk about your favorite horror, whatever, to be included into our horror episode coming at the end of the month for Halloween. And you can email us at spoilercountry@gmail.com if you want to just shoot us an email with that information or email with anything. And as always, go to scpod.net, see all of our articles, reviews, all of our podcasts, all the new podcasts joining our Spoilerverse family, which is pretty awesome. You've got us, you've got Shooting the Sith, you've got Mystery Point Radio, and you've got Haphazard Adventures. You got 4 great shows on the website to listen to and to check out and to love.
Yep, with more to come.
It's insane, but yeah, more to come.
yeah, it's insane, but more to come. And we hope you guys enjoy everything we have to offer. And, we're always looking for people to write articles, reviews, and, give us some cool stories that might need a platform to get onto, and hopefully you can reach an audience that you didn't know was available to you. That is.
It is Spoiler Country.
There you guys go. Join the Spoilerverse. Be in the Army. Let's do this. All right, guys. I think that's a show. I think we're out of here. Don't forget to open the mind.
And read more. Join the Army. I like that.
The Spoilerverse Army.
Yeah.
Matt, how you doing, buddy? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hear me?
Yes. All right, man. I'm going to, we'll just kind of go over what we're going to talk about first, and then we'll actually get down to brass tacks and do the interview. I always kind of like to talk to people first, though. You been all right today, man?
Yeah. Went to visit the family. Watched a bunch of football. So it's been a good day.
Nice. Who's your team?
In Redskins, we won our first game today. So,
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I have a buddy from West Virginia who's a big Skins fan. We don't really do like Major League Football here in the South, though. It's all college teams. So, Alabama.
Oh, well, we have a lot of Alabama players on our team. The last couple of years, the draft plan has been to draft players from Alabama. So
Nice. Yeah, it's so weird. Like, it's people get so like riled up about them while they're playing, like on the college teams, and afterwards, like we never hear about them again. So. But yeah, I love me some college football. Alabama especially. That's my local team, I guess. But so the Kickstarter's ongoing. You've already started the Kickstarter. You still have a few days left.
on Monday, so I'm in the first like 6 to 7 days, so I'm still pretty early on.
Cool. Yeah, you got 24 days left. Awesome. Is this the first book you've put out through that company that you started?
It'll be my third book that I've gone to Kickstarter with. I've books before. I did a book called Digital Forever, and I did a book called Multi-Larceny. Digital Forever was my first book I did on Kickstarter probably roughly 2 years ago. Multi-Larceny was about a year ago, and so this is the third time I've come back.
Okay, and what's the DMV Indie Comics Creators?
Yeah, a meetup group I've started probably about 3 or 4 months ago. It stands for District, Maryland, and Virginia. That's sort of what people call sort of like the DC is not a state, but sort of like the area that's like Maryland, DC, and Virginia. And we just sort of get together like once a month, and we like give each other goals, and like nobody like sort of like gets on you really like hardcore or anything, but it's just sort of like a way to like keep people accountable, and we try to like say, hey, what are you going to do next month? And somebody's like, oh, I'm going to have like the thumbnails for my book ready, and then they show up and they show us the thumbnails.
You got your accountability buddies, right? Yeah. It's the lamest term ever to use for that, but that's awesome. That's really cool, and actually physically meeting people that you would otherwise only talk to on the internet. That's pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to I guess kind of introduce you, and then we'll get into it, and I'll ask you a few questions. You're a dad, right?
I have a son who's 11 and a daughter who is 7.
Oh wow. Okay, cool. You started a little bit earlier than I did, so I have a 9 and a 4. So
it's I'm thankful that they're not toddlers anymore. So I mean, I guess maybe with the 4-year-old, you're on the edge of getting out of there. So
oh yeah, starting to. She is a fucking excuse my language. She is a wrecking ball, this kid. But it's fun. Keeps you fresh. All right.
I was joking with a guy at work one time, and he was asking me the difference between my son and my daughter, and I was like, well, if there was like this thing here, my son would ask me a million questions like, what is that thing? And I was like, if my daughter was here, she's like, I'm going to knock that over to get to the thing behind it. So they're totally different kids.
Oh, dude, I was getting on to my 4-year-old one time about she was swinging a teddy bear around, and I was about to knock over my water. And she looked at it, and she said, "This water?" She pointed at it. And she walked over to the table that the water was sitting on, and she bitch slapped it off the table. It's like, you're like a little gangster. Okay, I'll start it up. Do you mind if I talk to you about being a dad and being creative while you have kids and stuff like that? I don't want to talk about anything you don't want to talk about.
That's perfectly fine.
Cool.
Yeah, it's no, that's perfectly fine. It's a lot of it is, and we'll get into it. A lot of it is like, you squirrel away a couple of hours when everybody's a bit asleep in bed to
That's
work
what
on
this is.
stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I'll talk about Constructing Comics Pod if you don't mind too, because I listen to it, so I enjoy it.
I think we're about 60 some episodes in, and I still feel like it's a work in progress, but we're getting there.
I think I've shouted you guys out on the Comic Jam Twitter one time. But yeah, you guys are awesome. Let's see.